Hey guys! So it is a bright Sunday morning and today I wanted to show you through some of my fountain pen collection. I have a really great blend, I think, of some fine medium tip ones. I've got some flex nibs I want to show you. I've got more of a flat tip one that I can show you, and a TWSBI here, give you an idea of some of the different pens that are available, how you can fill them. And there's going to be a lot more information. This is part of a blog post, actually part of a series about planning. So I'm going to link in the description below to the blog post, and I'm going to be sharing where you can get these pens, how much they are, and any additional information that I miss in this video. So I want to start off with this one right here. This is a Pilot Metropolitan. This is the gold, and it is the fine tip. So these ones are pretty easy to fill up. Let's see here, right now I've got this in here, but you actually can get a converter for it where you can fill it with your own ink. So I do have a converter as well. I can show you what that looks like. So this is the converter here, and all it is a little vacuum bag essentially. You just squeeze and suck. So you put this in about up to here in your ink, and just squeeze and suck up your ink. You usually do that a few times just to make sure that it's nice and full. And then this would just clip in right there. So it's great because it's refillable. It's very affordable. So this is the Pilot Metropolitan. I'm going to show you here. Pilot Metropolitan. Fine. Now, if we look on the back here, I want to show you ghosting as well as we're going through. So there's minimal ghosting. This is decent journal paper. So I'm not seeing a whole lot of ghosting there. I can see my print, but very light. So it dries really fast, partly because it's so fine, so there's, less ink coming out, and partly you have to, pay attention to the fact that your ink is going to change the fact of the drying time as well. Different inks have different drying time. So that plays into it as well as how thick your lines and how thick your ink is going on. So that is the first one. I'm going to put these in here as we go. All right, so moving on to, this is the Pilot Metropolitan medium point, okay, medium tip. So I got this one in silver. Again, it's the exact same. I can use the converter in it. You'll see it's just a little bit thicker, and I'm going to show you this one as well. Okay, so you can see it's thicker, it's bolder. I do have some control. If I go a lot slower, I can, do a little bit lighter and a little bit pushed on the way down. Same thing, honestly, there's not much ghosting going on over here that I'm noticing a tiny bit. I wouldn't even say it's any more noticeable, actually, than the fine tip. And it also dries really fast. It's a great pen. They're really affordable. I really enjoy using them in a lot of my bullet journaling because there's very little ghosting and they're really easy to use. They are nice and smooth. I really enjoy them. Okay, so I'm going to show you my flex pens next. I have two of them. They're both Noodler's flex pen. Okay, so these are both Noodler. So you'll notice one is really thick, which I thought I would like. I actually find it a little hard to write with, but they're both quite light. They're plastic, so they're really light pens. They're not heavy, which has its benefits. These are refillable, so they're ones that are going to last you. I'm going to show you both of these side by side so you can kind of get an idea. So, the thickness of the pen in general, this one you're going to twist in order to fill it. It's more of a vacuum seal. I'm going to show you on here. Let's see if we can see in this video the fact that they flex. Okay, so can you see that flex action right there? See how the tip actually kind of comes apart a little bit? Show you on this one. Tip actually comes apart. It opens up. Okay, so I'm going to show you these two up close so you can really get a good idea of how they work. So, don't run away on me. Put you over here. Okay, so this one. I'm able to get really, you know, of course I forgot my L. Awesome. There we go. All right. Lighter upstrokes and thicker downstrokes because of the flex. Now, the problem with this, well, I'm going to do it again. This is why you don't talk while you make a video. Okay. Zoom back out here. The problem with this is that you have to push quite hard in order to get your flex to happen. So there's quite a bit of push down happening on the pen, which, depending on the type of paper you use, can really impact your writing. For example, if I were to use this on cardstock, it actually rips my paper as I go because of the sharpness of the pen and the pressure that I'm doing. Even on this paper, if I go through, it's indented on the other side. So I'll show you again from a distance here. It also takes quite a bit of practice to get the movement of it. It's not a super easy pen to get used to. And unlike, I'm going to show you another one, but if I try to write really light and fast, sometimes there's breaks in it. It really does need to be used the way it's meant to be used, which is as those thick down strokes. So, do another little, trying to show you the, okay, so the other problem that I'm finding is that because of the amount of ink that's flowing through it, it takes a very long time to dry. Very long time. Again, partly I'm sure based on the ink that's in this pen right now, but a lot of that is because of the thickness that's coming out. It's still glossy wet. It comes out so thick because your pen is actually splitting apart and just laying it onto your paper. So if you look on the other side here, if you can see on this side, there's quite a bit of ghosting, and if I do this in my Leuchtturm, it completely bleeds through. This pen completely bleeds, and I'm actually going to show you my sample page so you can really get an idea of it on here. This is this pen right here that I just used. So on the Leuchtturm paper, it actually bleeds right through. If you can see here, it bleeds right through onto the other page. So this one you cannot use. If you have a Leuchtturm bullet journal, you can't use this in there. Your second page is going to be completely unusable if you're using this pen. So from a bullet journaling perspective, it's not awesome. If I use it on more journal paper, this is thicker. I can make it work. Again, though, there's quite a bit of bleeding. This is more of a pen that I would use on a single kind of design. And because it takes so long to dry, because it's going on so thick, I thought I was going to love this pen. And honestly, it's not my favorite. I find that I make mistakes. I mean, even still, look at that. Even still, it's super wet. So I find that you know, as I'm writing, because I write quite fast, well, now it's all filling in. So I'm making a lot of smudges in my paper. It's just not my favorite. But I'm going to show you the other flex pen they have. I definitely prefer this one to that. I'm going to post, you guys, again, exact links of where you can find these, which models and all of that. I just wanted to give you an overview here. So this is also a noodler. It's thinner, it's easier to hold, it's lighter, and I feel like it's a lot smoother and it's more flexible. It's just, it's more flexible of a pen. So All right, a little bit of railroading there. I don't know if you can see that. I just went a little too fast, but I like this one a lot better. I feel like it's a lot smoother than this one, probably because this one's stiffer. So because it's stiffer, it's I'm having to push down harder. It's staying closer together. It's sharper. So it just catches a little more on the paper. This one, because it's a little bit more flexible and light, it just writes smoother. It doesn't catch on my paper. And it's light, so it's really easy to use. I can actually write quite a bit faster with it, and you can still get these light upstrokes and thick downstrokes. Now, again, it's still going on very thick. So on this side, you can see it's better than the one up there as far as the bleed through, but on a Leuchtturm paper, so that's this line right here, you're going to see it still bleeds right through. So it did not bleed onto a second page, but it did bleed through here, and it's actually totally indented my page completely right here from the pressure and it kind of cutting into the paper. So still from a bullet journaling perspective, depending on what kind of paper you're using, if you're making your own inserts, I'm going to be getting Tomo River inserts, which are made for fountain pens. I'm really curious to see if the pens are going to perform better on that paper. But as far as the Leuchtturm goes, these flex pens are not ideal if you bullet journal in a Leuchtturm. So again, I mean, it's been, you know, I don't know how long it's been since I last wrote this, but it's completely still soaking wet. So this huge smudging that's going to be happening while you're writing as well. So because of that, these pens are just not my go-tos. They're not, which is too bad. I had great expectations for them. So I'm going to show you the TWSBI next. I spent a lot of money on this. This is the VAC 700, I believe. Wait, now I gotta look. Yeah, the VAC 700. So it's vacuum fill. So you actually untwist this, you lift it, and you just push, and it fills your pen. So you can refill it with whatever ink you desire. It's heavy. It's a heavier pen. It's quite heavy duty. The lid weighs almost as much as the pen. So I'm going to put that to the side. It's pretty easy to hold though. It goes in right here, which is pretty much where my fingers want to sit. It does have a little bit of flex as well, and it is the smoothest writing pen that I have. Unlike these, I'm going to show you when I write really fast with it, it is incredibly, incredibly smooth. I can write very, very light and fast, and it will have no breaking in my writing, or I can write thicker if I'm going a little slower. So I'm going to move this up a little. All right, so this is the TWSBI. VAC 700. All right. Okay. If you are a really fast writer, you just write really, really quickly, you can see that writing very quickly, it's very fine. In fact, it's more fine than my Pilot Metropolitan fine tip. You can see it up here. It's very, very fine writing. Or I can do it darker than almost the Pilot Metropolitan medium. So if I'm going slower. Now on this side, I can't see my light strokes hardly at all. My dark, there's a tiny bit of ghosting, but very, very little. So I love this pen. It dries very quickly. You can refill it with whatever color ink you want. It is an awesome, awesome pen. From the Leuchtturm perspective, let's take a look here. This is the pen right here. So I'm going to flip it over and let you see on the other side. I remember where I am here. There's not even any ghosting. Compared to all the other pens, I can pretty much hardly see. It's this line right here, and you can hardly see it. So from a bullet journaling perspective, this pen is amazing, you guys. It is amazing. It's really easy to write with because it goes in right here. I like to hold really close to the nib, but I find that I'm able to hold it here, and so my fingers aren't always getting covered. As opposed to, gotta show you this, some of the other ones that I'm holding, you know, quite close and I'm getting covered in ink. So it just nestles in your hand really easily. It's really easy to write fast, and it's incredibly smooth. So that's the TWSBI VAX 700. So the last one that I have to show you here is the Pilot Plumix. Again, this is a really affordable pen. If you are new to fountain pens and, you know, don't want to spend $70-something on a pen, then this is a great starter one. I love it because, all right, I love it because you can see it's got a flat tip. It does have a little bit of flex, but because of the flat tip, it automatically is writing with thicker downstrokes and thinner upstrokes just because of positioning. So how you hold your pen is going to give you that same look without you having to worry about a ton of pressure, although it does have a little bit of flexibility for pressure as well. So I'm going to show you this one in action, close up, and hopefully I'm not going to get covered in ink here, maybe a little bit. So we're going to do it right here. All right, so this is the Pilot. Make sure I'm spelling it right. Pilot Plumix. All right, let's move this down a little more. Okay, so this pen is really easy to write with. It feels a little rougher on the paper, which if you are familiar with different pens, I guess that just, it feels like it's cutting into the paper a little bit. It doesn't go super, super smooth, probably because it's a little sharp or flatter point. But as far as that, you can see it's getting that lighter, darker, lighter, darker, lighter, darker. So it's really easy for beginners to get that kind of experience, and because it's so affordable, it's a great starter pen. So I'm going to show you the bleed through. Okay, so let's flip this over here. So there's not a lot of there's no bleed through. There's some ghosting, and that's on this paper. So I'm going to show you again on the Leuchtturm. This is my Plumix on the bottom. So there's a tiny bit of bleed right here. This is my dot at the end of my sentence. But otherwise, this sentence right here, I can feel it. So it definitely has indented because, like I said, when it's rougher, it's cutting into the paper a little, so I can feel it on this side. It's ghosting, for sure it's ghosting, but it's not necessarily bleeding through. So again, from a bullet journaling perspective, it's up to you whether or not you want to be using these on your pages where it's ghosting, because it's going to affect this side now. It's not going to be as smooth. It's cutting, it's cutting, it's cutting. All of these things that are cutting into your page are going to make now your lines, you know, not as straight and smooth. So some people are, you know, more perfectionists, and they're looking for pens that are just not going to show through, in which case your best bet is the Pilot Metropolitan or the TWSBI. If you like to do, you know, maybe you're not using this for bullet journaling, maybe you're using this in a journal that's thicker quality paper, or maybe you have proper paper that you're using it on, you know, like a Tomo River. Like I said, I haven't used that yet. It's actually thinner paper, but it's made for fountain pens. So depending on what you're using it for, it could look totally different for you, and you might be looking for something different. But this should give you an overview of flex pens, more flat tip pens, and just fountain pens in general, what they look like, how they work. And yeah, there's a lot more information going to be on the blog post, so stay tuned for that. I will post the link in the description below, and I'm going to go into more detail about the pens, where you can buy them, and how much they are. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll subscribe for more planning videos, and I'll talk to you guys soon.